What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about Season 6, the patch notes that came out for it, and I've gone in now since it's been released, and I've checked some different things that they've said they've nerfed and or changed, and I have numbers for recoil changes, the OTS changes, full stats for the Grav, and everything like that. So we'll just go through the patch notes, and I'll talk about all the things I've checked and give you guys some just general discussion on things. But as always, if you guys like the content, you like the website and what we're doing, be sure to drop a like on the video and a comment and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Those things are all free for you and it helps us out. I get asked a lot what's the best way to support the YouTube videos. And I think, first of all, those three things I just said, those all help a lot. As well as watching, like total watch time of the video is really important. So percentage watched and the amount of time you spent watching the video are both really, really important to YouTube. I'm not asking you to play this on 1x or anything. If you want to watch the video quickly, by all means do that. I'm just saying for those few of you out there that are really interested in helping to support, the best way to support is to watch the video on 1x all the way through without jumping around and skipping to different timestamps and things like that, because that kills the watch time. But I just wanted to cover that in case there's some of you out there that are curious about that kind of stuff. But let's jump into it and we will talk about the Season 6 patch notes and changes. Our sponsor for today's video is Legionfarm, legionfarm.com. That's what this is going on in the background here. Basically, it was a website dedicated to helping you improve at certain games. Right now they have Warzone, they have Apex, and they're going to have Battlefield 2042 when it launches. Basically how it worked was you'd go on the site and within a minute you can get paired up with a pro from their website that had like a 4 to 5 KD, 30%, 40% win percentage, just incredible players, and they would directly coach you in a live Warzone match about how to get better. They've got this new service they're offering now called Senior Subscription. Basically that comprises of 10% direct lessons with the pro, 20% like feedback from a pro in terms of like VOD reviews and things like that. So that's really good direct feedback there. And then 70% experiential. So that's actually playing with the pro, just like I was talking about before, where you get in the same match with them and they are directly live coaching you on how to improve. Again, that is like one of the absolute best ways to get better at something, is to play with someone better than you and learn from them and be coached. So they also, with the subscription service they're offering, they're going to have actual like esports tournaments going on that only subscribers can take part in, with prize pools from 5 to 20,000. So that's huge. I mean, those are big tournaments that are only going to be open to these subscribers. And on top of that, they're going to do something really cool, and they're actually going to have like physical trophies and tournament rings and things that they'll send out to the winners. So overall, really, really cool service. One of the best ways to improve, I honestly think. So I'm going to be doing a full review of this service here in, I don't know when, in the next couple weeks probably, but it'll be a full review of the service. And a lot of people have done this in the past with like coaches on Fiverr or other freelance websites where you can hire a coach for Warzone. This is a website dedicated to that. They've got a UI that's built for it. So I'm going to do a full length review and give you guys the full rundown of the service and how it can help you improve in Warzone. All right, so if you're interested in Legionfarm, be sure to check them out. I've got a link down below where if you use my special link, you'll get actually $10 free credit when you make your first purchase. So that's pretty cool. Thank you, Legionfarm, for sponsoring this video and helping to support the YouTube channel as well as the website. All right, I'm just going to go through the actual patch notes here first and talk about the changes. So first, assault rifles, they nerfed the C58. It has pretty significantly increased recoil now. The EM2 recoil was also increased. MG82 gun kick and recoil were both increased. So I think gun kick is like visual recoil, and then obviously recoil is the actual like spread pattern on the wall. Reload interrupt time increased and raise interrupt time increased. I'm assuming that is like reload canceling kind of thing, like where you at some point you can stop the reload process, but you already have the ammo in the gun. So as soon as the ammo goes up to full in the bottom right on your screen, you can sprint or do anything to cancel that, and you'll have the ammo. MG82 always, you could cancel it really, really early, which is one of the things that made it really, really good. So this is a pretty big nerf for the MG82 overall. It makes it more like an LMG. It already had a ton of recoil, so the fact that they increased recoil again, it's still usable in mid-range, close-range engagements, but long-range, I just don't think it's really going to be viable anymore. Light machine gun alpha is the stoner. They increased the gun kick and the recoil. So again, stoner already it didn't have too much recoil, but it was very visually bouncy. So the fact that they've increased that again, as well as increasing the base recoil, I think that might kind of edge it out of the meta a little bit, unfortunately, for some people that really like the stoner. I don't have previous recoil plots for those two guns, so I can't compare those to pre and post patch, but the C58 and the M2 I do, so we'll compare those and get actual numbers on how much they increase the recoil by. Lasers, the Tiger Team Spotlight, they increased or decreased the movement speed and ADS movement speed benefit of it from 3.2% down to 3%. That's basically nothing. I don't even know why they felt the need to do that. That's such a small change. Spetsnaz 40 round. So this is for the OTS. The OTS basically got its magazines nerfed. Takes longer to reload now, and they hurt your ADS more. So the OTS, when you built it, already could have really bad ADS times. So this is going to slow it down even more. It's kind of a weird way to balance the gun, but I'm okay with it because the OTS was still too good in my opinion. It had the best mobility as well as the best TTKs with a really fast reload time. It just didn't make a whole lot of sense where it sat with the meta. So this will be nice. This will kind of bring it a little more in line with the Modern Warfare MP5, Cold War MP5, and the Modern Warfare AUG as far as like the fastest killing guns in the game for SMGs. And obviously they added the Grav, they added the Ironhide shotgun. We're not going to talk about the shotgun because I just generally don't ever use shotguns. I don't cover shotguns. We're going to be adding them to the site very, very soon. We're working with El Goomtaff. For those of you who know him, I hope I said that right. But he has a great YouTube channel that's like basically dedicated to shotgun stats. So he's helping me compile all the data for all the attachments and stuff. Hopefully that's going to launch with TrueGameData Premium, which is coming relatively soon. Hopefully I wanted to launch it by Friday. I think today Friday. I don't even know what day it is. That's how crazy my life is all the time right now. But I was hoping to launch it this Friday, but because of my internet being terrible and a bunch of other issues that came up this week, it's not done yet, but it's very, very close. So hopefully sometime this week it'll be launched. Shotguns are not going to be a premium feature. Anybody can have access to shotguns just like the rest of the guns. I'm just saying we're going to launch it at the same time as that. The Grav I do have unlocked and fully leveled up, and we're going to talk about that. So let's jump into the actual measurements of different things. All right, so we're going to start with the EM2 and C58 recoil changes. These were both meta weapons, two of the best guns of the game for long range. I think the EM2, XM4, C58, and the Cold War AK probably were like the four top long range assault rifles. Some of the other like Modern Warfare guns are sneaking in there now after all these nerfs. So like the Grau's in a really good spot right now. The M13's in a good spot. M4 and Ram 7 are both in good spots. So they're kind of sneaking back in there a little bit because of all these nerfs to the Cold War guns. But anyway, let's talk about the changes to C58 and the M2. On the left, we have C58 right here, and then EM2, and this is pre-patch. This is recoil from August. So I don't know if they changed anything between August and now. So it's been like 2 months since I made those first recoil plots. So other stuff could have changed in between. But then this middle plot is today's C58 on the left and today's EM2 on the right, with the Grav on the far right. And the builds for this, it was Agency, Ranger Barrel, just because that's how I tested it back in the day, so I had to match that. Field Agent Grip, Axial 3X, and then I used the 45 round mag on the C58, 40 round mag on the EM2, and the 50 round mag on the Grav, and that basically gave them all relatively similar damage per mag. So I think it's fair to compare the recoil plots, given that they put out the same amount of damage with each magazine, roughly. So you can see C58 has quite a bit more horizontal. It's going all the way further left than it did back then. It used to be a little bit of left after that first portion. Now it's kind of just a smooth curve and goes up to the left a little harder. EM2 basically just got extra vertical. C58 also got extra vertical on top of that. And then you can see the Grav overall, the recoil is about the same as the EM2. But those first like 3 or 4 shots with the new Grav are just a crazy amount of recoil, and the visual recoil difference between the two guns is ridiculous. So overall, I just think there's like no reason to use the Grav over the EM2 right now. We'll go compare those visual recoil differences as well. But let's get those actual numbers for the recoil changes here for the C58 and EM2. All right, so as always, I went in and I measured the pixels, got the horizontal and vertical recoil changes of both these guns. So you can see C58 has 360% the horizontal recoil that it had before the patch, at least compared to the August version. Again, I don't know if they changed anything in the middle there, but that's the only plot I had to compare to. So 360%, 3.6 times as far from the first bullet to the last bullet as far as how far it goes left. It might make more sense to measure from the furthest right point to the furthest left point, but it wouldn't make that much of a difference in this case, so I just left it. It also has 137% of the vertical recoil, so it has 1.37 times the amount of vertical recoil that I had before. So that's not insignificant. That's a pretty significant change there for the C58. And it already didn't hit that hard. Didn't have fantastic TTKs. They were okay, and it was very controllable. So I think this is a little bit overkill for the C58, especially when you compare it to the EM2. So the EM2, I measured the exact same way. So from the first bullet to the last bullet, it had 2 times basically as much horizontal recoil, but it's still basically vertical. I mean, that's really not a big difference to just kind of change the angle of the recoil plots. Not a big difference in terms of how it feels to control. And then it had 118% vertical, so 1.18 times the vertical recoil. EM2 is absolutely still super meta. I mean, I think EM2, XM4, Cold War AK right now are at the top, and then there's a few other guns that are close behind that. Obviously, I'll be covering that in the following days. The Grav, because the recoil is so bad, it has basically the same damage as the EM2 exactly. If you look at like weighted DPS plots on TrueGameData, you'll see that the Grav and the EM2 basically have the exact same DPS everywhere, and that just makes it not worth using because the recoil is much harder to control, especially those first few shots, which are so important. So overall, I think EM2 is still the meta. Just use the standard long range build. You could potentially swap out the Task Force Barrel for Ranger to get that bullet velocity. I think that's a good option for the EM2. Gives it really good ADS times. All right, let's do the quick visual recoil test with these two guns. Same as always, we'll start with the Grav. Those first few shots just have so much recoil. After that, it's not that bad, but it's just so bouncy, like visually bouncy. There's also more horizontal bounce. If you look at the actual recoil plot, there's definitely more horizontal bounce than the EM2, and it's just hard to control. Whereas the EM2 is consistent everywhere with very little. I mean, you can tell how much more accurate I am with that. I am able to hit the sign almost with every single shot. It's just crazy. I don't know what they were thinking with the Grav. I think the EM2 is just overall a significantly better weapon. All right, let's quickly look at the stats of the Grav. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but in the first damage range, it does 40 to the head and then 30 everywhere else. There's no neck multiplier or anything. Second damage range, 36 to the head, 27 everywhere else. It does have an ammo conversion, so it has this RK7 30 round conversion. So if we pop that on there, you can see it does 33 to the neck, 42 to the head, 31 chest, and then 30 stomach and extremities. Same story here. It gets a little bit more head damage. It gets a neck multiplier and a little bit more chest damage as well. Not a huge deal. And it does increase the recoil by quite a bit. So if we come look at the ammo conversion here, you're going to see you get extra range, 6% more range, slower ADS times, much more recoil. It's hard to get super accurate measurements on recoil, but between probably 15 and 20% recoil increase, 12% bullet velocity increase, and you only get 30 rounds. But we're going to just put this on there so you guys can see. I've built the EM2 and the standard Grav on here. So let's do the combined shot location calculator. And I'm not logged in, so I have to go do that first. All right, so I'm back logged in. Obviously, premium's still not completely finished, but very close. So you can see here the EM2 is orange, the regular Grav with no ammo conversion is magenta, and then cyan is the ammo conversion version of the Grav. And basically, it gets a much better TTK, effective TTK in that first damage range. Down by about, let's see, this is 560 versus 640 or 460, so that's like 80 milliseconds faster TTKs in that first range, but it's basically exactly the same as the EM2 in the first range. And then it is slightly faster than the EM2 out in the second range, about 40 milliseconds faster, but again, at range, it's much more important to hit your shots, and you're going to hit so many more shots with the EM2 than you are with the Grav, especially with this ammo conversion that increases your recoil. Even the default Grav is going to be worse at range than the EM2. If we look at the DPS, you can see here with these shot location percentages, EM2 and regular Grav are basically the same everywhere. The 30 round mag does give it better damage per second at all ranges, but it's only like 10 or 15 more damage per second than the EM2, and it's just not worth it over the extra accuracy you get with the EM2. So I really just think the Grav is not worth using. I'm sure they'll buff it very soon, but right now it's just not very usable compared to some of the other guns. So as far as translating these OTS numbers into real ADS times, so the speed change from 0.85 to 0.835 basically makes it take like 10 milliseconds more to ADS, so it's not a huge deal. Like I said, I do think it was a necessary nerf, not a necessary nerf, but a nice nerf, because it is still probably the best gun by a decent margin for pushing really up close. So that's a good change. This makes it a little harder to play it that way with these increased reload times as well is really good. And same for the 40 round fast mag, 0.8 to 0.78. That's like 10 milliseconds, 12 milliseconds or so. Not a huge deal. But like I said, the gun is already pretty slow, so this does slow it down a little bit more. All right, everybody, that's all I wanted to cover in this video, so I hope you enjoyed it and found it informative and useful. I'm going to go start working on TrueGameData Premium again tonight, start programming. Again, that's going to come with advanced damage per mag charts, advanced TTK charts, advanced DPS charts, so you can add in shot location percentages. It's also going to come with recoil plots for all the weapons. For the weapons that make sense, we're not going to have recoil plots for sniper rifles. But recoil plots for all the ARs and SMGs and LMGs and tactical rifles and things like that. That'll be included, fully modifiable by attachments, so that's going to be a really cool feature. You're not going to have to get in the game and shoot a wall to see what the recoil is going to look like when you put on attachments. There's just a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipeline. We're going to add aiming stability. We're going to add accuracy per weapon, so you can say, oh, well, with the EM2, if I hit 10% more shots with the EM2, then it kills faster than every other gun in the game for me. That's just a valuable stat to have. It's a little wishy-washy because you can kind of put in whatever you want to make a certain gun come out on top. But maybe someday they're going to give us this data in the API so we can actually see how accurate we are with every gun. And that way you could input it and see exactly what gun is going to perform the best for you. That's kind of the long-term dream. Right now, the API doesn't have that information, but we've got huge plans for TrueGameData coming down the line. Subscription is going to be $5 per month. So there's going to be an option to get like a 30% discount if you want to buy a year at a time. I'm really looking forward to releasing this. I've been wanting to do this for over a year, and I have so many big ideas for this site, and this will help fund those and just push everything forward for us. So stay tuned for that. Should be out within the next week, hopefully. I will see you guys all in the next video, which will be out tomorrow.